Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, agents. I'm Matty Carlin, and this is an exciting time to be a Division agent. We are on the eve of 1.4, and I cannot imagine anyone who is not excited by the prospect of the new adventure coming up in the next day. Whether you are a solo player waiting to experience the free loot, or a salty veteran waiting to see if they fixed the one thing you hated the most, spoiler alert, they didn't. There is something for everyone in 1.4. So now that we are on the cusp, let's quickly recap the highlights of what has changed in 1.4 and give you a little bit of extra excitement heading into the day. I will say this before I get into the patch notes: taking down the PTS is probably the worst idea Massive has ever had. We need to keep it going and keep it up. I think that Massive should have kept the PTS up and running for each iterative patch each week. We are looking into making an impact and keep Massive from, well, being Massive, because everything was fine up and, going to 1.1, and things took a sharp left and veered right and then went into the crapper. Keeping the PTS up would allow people to continue iterating on the game and keep Massive from making any mistakes. It will also allow players to find and test exploits that might go unchecked for the weeks on end. Alright, so enough of that. Let's get on to the patch notes for the upcoming 1.4 patch that's coming out in just minutes, hours, who knows. Whenever you're watching this, it could have already come out. Gameplay changes abound. The major ones that will affect us all: time to kill has been reduced and enemy AI has been improved. Ammo capacity has been increased by 50%. That is the base ammo capacity. If you watch some of my other videos, you'll find out how to increase that even more. They have removed scavenging from the game, but LOL, as if it was really there. So player health regenerates now to full when you're not in combat. They've changed the way the NPCs react to the threat of players, allowing players to manage enemy aggro. So let's go ahead and talk about a couple of these things, because as I was going through the PTS, I didn't notice any difference to the AI. They seem to react the same as they do to the same actions that they've always done. I can't say for certain, but they acted pretty much as you expect. Shotgunners rushed the player, snipers stood back sniping, and the grunts did the grunt thing, like going into cover and throwing grenades at you. If there was an improvement to it, it was minor and nobody's going to notice, nobody's going to notice. You're not going to notice. It's going to look the same to you. The only difference is you're going to have less of a chance of dying. So the NPC threat, I didn't see anything on this either. Going into the dark zone, being attacked by rogues, still managed to have the enemies shooting directly at my person who was not a threat. So I would say, I literally saw a guy standing next to a veteran enemy shooting at me while the veteran enemy shot at me, ignoring the rogue completely. So there's nothing there. And maybe in the single player they managed the threat, but they did not manage it in the dark zone. So I would say that while it's in the patch notes, many people aren't going to see a big difference in the way enemies and NPC AI react to aggro. Now, some other changes that were made to the vendors are that you can now buy sealed caches from them, eliminating some of the guesswork out of the drops. Now your currency is actually worth something, because you can actually buy these and actually have a chance to get something good, like a gear set or that high-end item that you weren't able to achieve in 1.3. So some of the, also note, you will now be able to go into the booth and see that the Phoenix credit vendor is no longer there. He has been moved to the terminal, so he is no longer upstairs by the recalibration station. So that's kind of weird, because we had to unlock that guy to be upstairs, which I don't know where he went. Honestly, he's in the terminal, so if you're missing him, you can go hang out by him in the terminal. Some also things for solo players can now do is hunt down bosses. There are plenty of roaming bosses roaming around New York City outside the dark zone. Now, I wish they would have made it so that they dropped intel and it gave you some direction as to where the next guy was, but who can blame them? They're just going to drop gear, which is fine. I think dropping intel would give you another reason to go after them, but I'm pretty sure a lot of players will be spending the first few days tracking these guys down and killing them. I even made a map that you can find them. I don't know where it is right now. You can go through my stuff and find it. Maybe I'll put a link here, but my map is a bit outdated. There's probably 3 or 4 bosses missing off the map, as they have added some from the PTS. The changes to the high value target have been updated as well, and I would highly recommend doing the dailies if you're looking for loot. Do the dailies as well as the weeklies, since the loot is good. There is good loot to be had from the HVTs. Get some friends, go on a murderous rampage across New York City, killing everybody, committing homicidal genocide while you're out there, making sure that every person that moves except for non-combatant enemies, because you can't shoot them anyways, is dead. So that's pretty much what you need to do. Each of the bosses pretty much has a chance to drop a high end or a gear set, so have those guys. And to make things even faster, the HVT Seek and Destroy missions now give you 5 intel instead of 3. Now, as I previously said, there are a ton of other changes from incursions to gear sets, and in interest of keeping this video pretty short, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. So we'll try to cover all those in this week as we move forward to the full 1.4 version experience. We also want to take the time to respond to a hilarious article written by Kotaku, and where they emailed Massive. They said they emailed Massive and Ubisoft many times to get comments, and finally Massive basically replied to him. So hallelujah on that. And the replies are absolutely hilarious. So you can actually go over to Kotaku. It is a nice bit of fan fiction that Massive wrote for them in the emails, and I laughed wholeheartedly at a lot of the stuff that they did. You can check that out over at Kotaku right now, and you'll be well versed as to when I start making fun of them. So anyways, that's my time. I will look forward to getting back down to business in New York City this week. If you aren't excited about this and you are ready for it, and you aren't ready for it to drop, do me a favor and drop a like on this video. If you aren't excited about it, show your rage by also dropping a like on this video. Consider subscribing for more salty commentary and no BS truth about how I feel about the game. We'll be trying to put it out on console and giving you all the feedback as we go through the paces. Until then, for all of us here at The Division Let's Talk, I am Mounty Curl, and we'll see you in a 1.4 era New York City. Agent out.